Welcome back, everyone. I'm Zell, and today we're looking at the Wee Knife, Model 701. Alright guys, before we dig into the knife, let's look at the packaging real quick. As I've said in the past, Wee does some things that I really appreciate. First off, we have a box that's not a whole lot bigger than the knife. Plain cardboard, that's cool. I'm not too terribly worried about the cardboard in these boxes. We've got Wee Knife Company logo here, and we've got their internet contact information here. Have what the knife is on a sticker there, contact information here. Nice and simple, and I rather like that. We go to open it up, and this is the best part of the deal. We have the knife and all the stuff that comes with it protected whenever it's in transit. And that is a big issue for me. I have purchased knives that cost several $100s more than anything that I have from Wee, and they have come in a plastic baggie rattling around in a box that you could have fit a half a dozen knives into. And I don't understand that from a business perspective because of packaging, size, weight, all these other things. And I don't understand that from a customer service perspective. Whenever you're putting out a several $100 knife and you just let it get beat around by the UPS man in a box. And I'm off my soapbox and back to the knife. Anyhow, I like these little padded things. Let's get a look at what's inside. Okay, first off, we have a little information card from Wee. I'll leave this up here if you want to pause and read it real quick. And we have a piece of desiccant, or a baggie of desiccant gel. There's also one of those in the box. And we have a little microfiber cloth and the tool for the little Wee star nuts. And of course we have the knife. And this is the 701. And, oh, it's a beast, guys. Let's get a look here. First thing, we got a slightly oversized pivot. We got Wee's star nuts, which, yeah, I'm going to complain about, but they sent the tool, so I'm not too upset. And I may have, I've got some looking up to do. I may change my opinion on their star nuts, but not yet. Anyhow, we got kind of a leaf pattern going down the blade that they milled out, and man, that's nice. Got our titanium pocket clip and full titanium hardware. And as we roll it around the backside, we got a titanium backspacer, and we got our flipper tab. And our flipper tab has got some nice jimping on it. It's not overly aggressive, but it's enough to get a bite, but not to rip up your fingers. And one thing somebody in the comments on the unboxing videos mentioned that I didn't think of right away, but it was brilliant, is this little roller looking thing here through your lanyard hole rolls. So if you put your 550 through there, instead of rubbing and abrading itself up against the sharper edges of other things, it's just going to roll that, and it's not going to get ripped up or messed up nearly as quickly. So that is a beautiful thing. Now back here on the back side is where we can really see this pattern. Of course, we've got the Wee logo here, and then we've got this leaf pattern, which is rather interesting. I kind of like it. It gives good grip, and it's got a nice look to it. And that's another thing. The way Wee mills their G10, they don't mill it smooth. So there's a little texture everywhere. Just a little bit. And that, I think, is a wonderful thing. Anyhow, this knife is 5 inches long, and it's about 0.575 thick, which really surprises me. It doesn't seem that wide, but the numbers don't lie, it is that wide. And the one that really surprised me is I thought this right here was going to make this a super tall knife. And it kind of does. It's 1.666 inches tall, but you know, that's not much more than some of our pancake style Spydercos. I really thought this was going to hit the 2-inch mark. Now, I was wrong. So anyhow, let's get a size comparison out of the way. And we've got, of course, our Buck 110. And it's a little bit bigger than the Buck 110. We have our Rat Model 1. It's also slightly bigger than the Rat Model 1. And our Delica has taken a holiday, so I'll have to check, see if I can find him. Okay, well, the HAP 40 Delica said that the regular BG10 Delica was down in the Bahamas, so we're going to have to use, he said we could use him for the day. So there is our Delica. So it is a big knife. Don't get me wrong, it's a big knife all the way around. So now let's move on to our blade. And this is where this guy gets interesting. Our blade is a big old piece of D2 steel. Wharncliffe completely. There's no curve to this blade at all. It's all flat. And we've got kind of a satin, and then we got a shinier satin up here. All of it, even though you can see the grind lines in that blade, all of it's very smooth. We got nice big swedge up there, both sides of the blade, and WE does a really good job with their CNC grinding. And, you know, it's almost like they must have watched my channel over the past year or so, or maybe they were watching the Apostle P. And, well, even old Nick Shabazz has caught in on this once he started sharpening knives with some, with the KME and the Edge Pro. They have got the tail end of your sharpened edge. They've got a sharpening choil that brings you out in front of your plunge grind. And that's a beautiful thing. That's an absolutely beautiful thing. And this big old blade is kind of a beautiful thing. You know, I don't know if it's really the blade for me, but man, it's pretty. Anyhow, the blade is 3.99 inches long by my measurements. We may say 4, but we know how that goes. It can be just a tad bit different whenever we get to the real world. And a cutting edge of 3.84. And our blade stock thickness is 0.154, or just under 4 millimeter. So it's reasonably thick. It's not super thick, but definitely not a thin little slicer blade. And we have a weight of 5.6 ounces, or just under 160 grams. So it's not a lightweight either. Although, for a 4-inch blade, 5.6 ounces is probably about average, probably under average. So they've done a pretty good job there. And this blade is hollow ground. Sure you can see that. And man, it's got a nice high hollow grind. And it's just, it's quite the looker, isn't it? Anyhow, the condition of our stock edge. Let me see if I can find a piece of paper for you guys. And I do. I've got more of that junk paper. And this stuff is terrible. And that is our stock edge. It is pretty good. I mean, it's as good as any other out-of-the-box edge I've dealt with. It's not stellar, of course, but I compare them to what I do with a knife. Anyhow, let's get this guy in the pocket and see how that comes out. And there we go. Now, don't get me wrong, it's going to be a big knife in the pocket. It's dang near 4-inch blade, and it's pretty thick this way, but it sets down plenty deep in the pocket. I'm actually kind of surprised at that. I guess I didn't look at it well enough. But, and one thing about these WE clips, I have not tried to put them in a set of work pants like your Centos or your Dickies, but I do wear 511 tactical pants quite often. They're not really tactical pants, they're a cargo pant. And they're kind of thick at the pocket like your Centos and your Dickies. And the WE knife clips, all of them I've encountered so far, fit in those pants. So they have enough room under the clip right here to accommodate that without making the clip stand up in a weird position like some of the other titanium clips will. So WE has done a good job there. And from here, we're going to go to our pause and read card, and I'll be right back with you. right, so the mechanical bits in this thing, we have a ceramic ball bearing pivot. And that behind that pivot, or behind those bearings, we have a nice thick hardened steel washer. So in the tradition of the Buck Marksman, which was the first one I saw that did it right, they have eliminated those flimsy, almost aluminum foil-like washers that some other companies use, and they've made a solid knife. And, you know, it is great. Our lock mechanism is a liner lock, and it's very similar to the 617 we looked at. It's a nice thick liner lock, locks up a little early, but very solidly. No play in the knife whatsoever. Now, and that's one of the things I've looked at 6 WE knives now, and every one of them has been like that. They just, mechanically, they've got it down. They are great knives. Now, ergonomics and action. Action, of course, is a flipper. It's on ceramic bearings. It's going to work great. So, ergonomically, it's very good. Is it great? No, and I'll show you why. You know, I've got medium-large hands, and they put this big choil in here. If I choke up very close to the flipper tab, well, I'm good there, and it's comfortable, and I can use a knife. If I loosen my grip up on it, my middle finger rides this bit of a point here. Now, it's not as bad as some. There is a bit of radius there, but it still pushes you up in that big forward choil, which is okay. It's just something to be aware of. And I do like this. I like this anytime a knife maker does it. On the top of the knife, on the spine, this drop here and then rise back on the blade with the jimping up the thumb ramp, that always works good. So anyhow, your standard grip is fine. It's not the greatest, but it is good. Your draw cut grip is going to be fine. Now, whenever you get it back here in your reverse grip, this actually works great. Of course, that's because your pinky finger is smaller, and my hands are medium-large, so adjust as necessary for your hand size. And it works good here, too. So, ergonomically, they've done a good job. It's not stellar, but it's definitely good. Action-wise, you know, it's a WE. It's just perfect. For a $100 knife, I don't think you can find a better action. The ceramic bearings, the tolerances, the way they keep everything lined up. And you know, I've taken the WE 617 apart several times, and the last time I took it apart, I took all the screws and everything, I threw them in a bowl, I didn't try to mark where they went, and put it all back together. You know, and odds are I got things in different places. There's no guarantee on that, but the odds say I got everything in a different place. And I just put it back together and tightened it up, and the knife was perfect. And that's one of the beautiful things about WE at this point. Their knives are machined and built in such a way that all of your tolerances, all of everything fits together properly. And it's not some deal where you put it together and then you got to fiddle with it. It's just put it together and go. And you know, I'm sure not every one of their knives is like that, but it seems like on average the majority of them are. So WE does a really good job there. So anyhow, guys, this has been the WE 701, a big old Wharncliffe with kind of a leaf pattern there on the handle. And the bright hardware, it's kind of growing on me. Whenever Fun with Knives gets done with this thing, I'll have to carry it a bit and see how I like that big old fat Wharncliffe blade. Anyhow, guys, you have a great day. We'll get an update on this knife whenever I get a chance to carry it some, and I'll see you next time.